Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And celebration is due. Diamond Comics has resumed distribution this week, so this is the very first full new comic book day since all of this mess started. We've had some DC books, but now we have other books as well. Marvel's going to start next week, so no Marvel books are out this week, but there is a true and proper new comic book day this week with a plethora of titles, though very small plethora, from many different publishers. Let's get into it. We always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Year Zero, #1 from AWA Upshot Comics. Upshot is an upstart in the industry right now. Axel Alonso, he knows what he's doing. He was an editor-in-chief at Marvel. He did a lot of editing work at Marvel Knights before that. Before that, he was a Vertigo editor. He knows how to get talent. He knows how to milk that talent out of great creators and just have something really great and unique. Year Zero, on the surface, just another world-ending zombie tale. But this is so much more than that. This is setting out to be the definitive zombie tale, right? I am so done with zombie fiction. I used to love Romero's stuff. I loved The Walking Dead when it first came out. Then there was just so much zombie stuff. So much of it. I just so tired of it, right? Year Zero blew all of that away, and I'm starting to get back into zombie fiction, and this is one of the best zombie fiction opening acts I've ever read. This was really cool. It's written by Benjamin Percy with artwork by Ramon Rosonos and Lee Laufridge, doing an amazing work on the coloring on this book. The artwork is amazing, it's crisp and it's clean. It's a zombie book. And most zombie tales focus on a group of survivors. Somebody like maybe surviving in a house, like Night of the Living Dead. A group of survivors going around the region, like in The Walking Dead. This is different. This is a global take on a zombie catastrophe, right? So there are a bunch of different characters all in different parts of the world. Their stories don't connect except for they're connected by the zombie outbreak. This is the very opening shot. It was very well done, masterful. The artwork, the coloring differentiates each character and each scene in particular with a different color palette, and it does it fantastically well. The artwork's pretty solid. Really did like it. This book was really, really good. I liked it a lot. And AWA already has been putting out some really top-notch independent books. Year Zero is no exception. It makes the pick of the week. So there you go. Year Zero from AWA. That's my pick of the week. Let's look at some DC Comics. We have The Dollhouse Family, issue #6. This is the final issue of The Dollhouse Family. And I've been saying that my favorite Hill House comic has been Dollhouse Family. So does the conclusion live up to my anticipation? Abso-frickin-lutely. Are you kidding me? This book was bonkers and crazy and off the wall. The ending, the last chapter, really brings it all full circle. You completely understand what's going on. It makes sense, albeit an absurd kind of sense, but this has been a very absurd, macabre, crazy, dark, fantastical tale, and I loved the conclusion. I thought it was a great wrap-up. I love the rough artwork. I think it really helps capture the feel and the tone of this book. It has been by far my favorite Hill House comics, but there's something I like about every single one of them. From Basketful of Heads, to Plunge, to Lolo Woods, to Daphne Byrne, but Dollhouse Family, to me, a great conclusion, a great series, and I cannot wait to sink my teeth back into this book and read it all in one sitting on a nice, chilly, stormy, dark night. Something like that. The Dollhouse Family #6, that final issue is out. Also from Hill House, we have The Plunge, Plunge #3. I reread #1 and 2 last night in preparation to read #3. #1 and 2, rereading it, really ironed out any of the flaws that I thought I was seeing in them. I really like it. I think it's a great slow approach to the story. In issue #3, it starts breaking out, and it breaks out hard, and it breaks out fast. Joe Hill, of course, is writing this one. Stuart Amonin and Dave Stewart on the artwork. You know the artwork's going to be fire. You know it's going to be amazing. This book gets creepy. It gets into some really interesting metaphysical type stuff. It really cool. I was expecting definitely a Lovecraftian type vibe here, and you do get that, but it's almost like Lovecraft meets Michael Crichton. And those are two of my favorite sci-fi authors, and you put them together, and of course you're going to make a book I really, really like. It's got a claustrophobic feel and take. These people are out there stranded on this island, and craziness is happening, and it really starts moving very fast in issue number 3. Plunge number 3, very, very solid chapter in that book. DCeased, Unkillables number 3. This is the final issue of this series, which is kind of like a bridge between the two DCeased series. So there's DCeased, then there's this, and then there's going to be another full DCeased series coming up later on this year. DCeased Unkillables was focusing in on a group of ragtag anti-heroes and villains kind of doing their own thing during the initial outbreaks during the pages of DCeased. This focuses on Deathstroke, Deadshot, Jason Todd, Cassandra Cain, which is really cool to me, Gordon. When this book first started, I thought it was okay, and it was like, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of quirky villains. It's just the villain side of things. It's just their perspective. Solomon Grundy, Cheetah. There's been more character work done with some of these villains in these 3 issues of DCeased by Tom Taylor than in years and years of DC Comics. I'm serious as hell. And that's something that Tom Taylor's exceptionally good at. It's taking a story like DCeased, in which the anti-life equation just ravages Earth's population and turns everybody into mindless killing zombies, right? Once again, zombie fiction actually making a comeback, at least to me. Like, it's not... Maybe it went away for a little bit, or I don't know, maybe they're just taking it from different approaches and different perspectives. Anyway, DC's Unkillables was amazing. Tom Taylor has this uncanny ability to take something that's just a what-if story. It's just an alternate reality, right? Big deal, right? But he makes it have emotional weight to it. And it seems like it would be easier to do that with Batman and Superman and all the tragedy that's involved. But when you can make me feel bad for Cheetah and Solomon Grundy, and make me really lean in on their side and appreciate those characters and the level of what they go through in this book, that's masterful. That is absolutely masterful. Carl Muster's artwork, this is the best one yet. 3 issues, and they kept getting better and better, the artwork. This one has got a raw, visceral, just ferocity to it that I absolutely love. DCeased Unkillables number 3. Fire. If you loved DCeased and you thought maybe I'll skip out on Unkillables because it's just like a little meaningless 3-issue thing, no. You gotta check it out. And surprise, DC released this week a digital comic book, a digital first comic book, DCeased, Hope at World's End. You see it right there? I read this. It's like 14 pages. It's only $1. It's on Comixology. I liked it a lot. It's got Dustin Nguyen artwork. This is set during the first DC story as well, and it's putting the spotlight on Jimmy Olsen. Plus, you got some Super Sons in there, and I'm really excited to see Dustin Nguyen take on the Super Sons again because he did some really cool covers there. Really groovy stuff. DCeased has been amazing. That, of course, is also written by Tom Taylor. This is his baby. He's sticking with it. And I'm very excited. Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen number 10 releases this week. Matt Fraction, Steve Lieber, Nathan Fairbarn, Clayton Cowles. What a masterful comic book that they've made. I typically hate Jimmy Olsen, and like Tom Taylor made me feel for Jimmy Olsen in that DCeased Hope on the whatever that was, the digital one. He makes me feel for Jimmy Olsen in this one. And this one, it's not that you feel for Jimmy Olsen, but it's a really fun, crazy, kooky, wild story with a very intricate mystery and structure attached to it. In issue number 10, because this is a 12-issue series, everything comes clear. You understand exactly what's been going on. All these different little vignettes, they've all been building up to this one big mystery story, a big whodunit. Why did Jimmy have to fake his death? Who's behind the villainy of what's going on? And man, I loved it. I loved it. I'm loving this book so much. Nobody's talking about this book, except for me, I think. Who else reads Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen? I hate this character. I love this book. Seriously. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Matt Fraction and Lieber and company are absolutely just killing this book, knocking it out of the park. They're having so much fun with it. They're doing something very innovative and experimental with the structure of the story, and I really, really like it. I'm just in awe of this book, and I'm in awe of how much I like this book. Trust me, I know what it sounds like, but this book is good. It's really good. Wonder Woman 755 is here because during this break I took the time to get caught back up on Wonder Woman. Steve Orlando's doing a decent story. It's nothing that would really make me feel like it's a must read, but the artwork's pretty solid throughout, and this one is done by Jesus Marino. The artwork's actually really solid in this, and they're building up this story about the four horsewomen. And it's very interesting. It's interesting characters, kind of getting into it. Like I said, it's not a must read or anything like that, but it is a very solid Wonder Woman tale. Wonder Woman's a little too... sometimes you read like Superman books or Captain America books and they give too many speeches and they say too many cheesy things, Wonder Woman kind of does that sometimes, but then there are moments in this book that are really, really solid and really strong. And I'm very intrigued by this four horsewomen of the apocalypse story. It's pretty interesting. Of course, I like any kind of four horsemen, horsewomen story. I think, I love that kind of stuff. So anyway, Wonder Woman 755, it's pretty decent. Pretty decent. I wouldn't write off Wonder Woman completely. Like I've written off Red Hood, but Red Hood Outlaws here, this issue number 45, just like I did with Harley Quinn a couple weeks ago. I did not get caught up on this book. I just wanted to jump in. Because a good comic book, you can just jump in and just enjoy the ride and go for it. Some things may be fuzzy, you may not understand everything, but you can kind of just roll along with it, right? Red Hood Outlaw number 45 did that very well. Seriously, I have not read this book since like issue 2. I never really cared about it. I'm not really a Jason Todd fan. This book was cool. There's some stuff going on, some characters. This Essence lady, she's returning. Who's Essence? I have no idea. There's a mystical backstory involved. That's kind of interesting. It was kind of neat. I did like the artwork. Pantaleana, I liked it. I do. It's kind of weird to me, but I liked this book. I thought it was cool. Yeah, Paulo Pantaleana, and of course Scott Lobdell on the writing there. Really liked this one though. I was surprised. Maybe I should get caught up on Red Hood Outlaw. If you've been reading it, let me know. Should I get caught up on it? Is it worth it? Seems like it was a pretty fun ride, or was it just that one issue? Plus, Artemis and Bizarro, some interesting things have been happening with those characters, huh? Interesting. Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen, number 3. One of the first appearances, cameo appearances, the second cameo appearance of Punchline, who is yet to make her full first appearance yet, because that's been delayed till June. This is third printing. I really like this one, because I really like the coloring on there, the green and the purple. It really pops. It's very Jokerized, obviously. This book's great. If you've been reading Snyder, Tiny, and Justice League stuff, getting ready for Metal and all that stuff, it's kind of essential. If you're just following the Punchline thing, it's her second cameo appearance. Third printing. Cool cover. Cool cover. The Flash, DC 100-page giant, issue number 4. What I like about these, I've talked about it before, you get a new story, maybe sometimes a couple new stories, and then you get a bunch of classic stories, a bunch of fun stuff, right? Really cool books for new readers and for kids, right? The Flash story, though, by Gail Simone, has been pretty solid, pretty interesting. Throw all continuity out, that doesn't matter. It's a whole new Flash story, a whole new Flash world. That's fine, they've done this before. Just imagine it's like a new TV show or an animated series or something. He's just now learning about Reverse Flash. He's having to go to the future because he's been warned that the Reverse Flash is going to ruin everything, and there's a lot of timey-wimey type stuff going on. What I like about this is some of the other 100-page giants, they're giving us self-contained stories. And that's the right thing to do. They're telling an overarching story here in Flash, while at the same time giving us self-contained stories. I think that's a cool format. I think that's really neat. This also collects, what does it collect? It collects Green Arrow from the Rebirth run. It collects the Gorilla Grodd story from the New 52 Flash run. It's got some Blue Beetle in there. I almost said Beetleborgs. Anyway, I've been enjoying those. And one of the things that's really helped keep me kind of going with my superhero fix during the whole Diamond shutdown were these 100-page specials. And just rereading some old stories and reading some of these... the newer stories for the first time. Been pretty cool, actually. There's a graphic novel from DC out this week. It's Gotham High. It's pretty decent. It was all right. Gets a little melodramatic at times, a little soap opera-y, a little bit CW soap opera-y. Well, it's basically Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle, Jack Napier, and a few other familiar faces reset in a high school world. But the artwork's really solid. First of all, the artwork is absolutely amazing. Thomas Fatilli, I love the artwork. I love the coloring. Some really cool stuff going on there. It's a decent story. It's kind of like... Do you remember in Twin Peaks Season 2, when the kids go off and have their own little mischievous adventures, and it kind of gets really kind of silly, and there's this love triangle? It feels like that a little bit between the Joker, Catwoman, and Batman, but obviously they're not Joker, Catwoman, and Batman. They're like kids in high school. But one thing I did like about this book is that the drama and the stakes and the emotions were very real. And I remember being in high school kind of felt like this. It felt a little bit more real, a little bit more epic, a little bit more saturated with heaviness. But the story itself is okay. It's kind of easy to kind of figure out where it's going. It kind of has a Nancy Drew type vibe to it just a little bit, because even though Bruce Wayne's a teenager, he's still like, trying to be a detective and solve the mystery of why Harvey Dent got kidnapped. Blah, blah, blah. But it was all right. I do like the artwork. I love the coloring in this book. But that's out. It's not as good as the Lost Carnival one that I read a couple weeks ago. But, still is what it is. Batman Last Night on Earth, the hardcover's finally here. Cannot wait to crack this open and reread this book. I loved it so much. Kind of like the final opus on the solo Batman story by Snyder and Capullo together. If you like their run, that's essential. It's kind of like their bookend to the whole thing. From Aftershock, we got a new one. It's Disaster Inc. #1. This book was a really cool book. I really liked it. It's got a really cool concept. Disaster Inc. is this company, albeit not quite legal company, that rich people or environmentalists or, whoever, just if you have the money, they will take you to the most dangerous places in the world, right? So, Fukushima is where they're focusing in on this one, of course, after the meltdown at the nuclear plant and all that stuff. So it's about these kids, they just want to go there. Some of them are maybe trying to collect information for their environmental activism. Some are just rich people trying to get their kicks going to this weird place. Meanwhile, real serious craziness is going on there. Not just the radiation, but like crazy, mysterious, monstrous type things. And they're walking right into it. This book was really well done. It's written by Joe Harris with artwork by Sebastian Perez. I really did like it. I thought it was solid. If you want to check out something new, I check out Year Zero. I check out Disaster Inc. These are some really great standout independent comic books of the week. Disaster Inc. had a great flow to it. I think Year Zero was a little bit of a smidgen better, but this book was really cool. I like the coloring. I like the story. The characters were very easy to understand and relate to, and it's a great concept, and it really worked. It really worked for me as a first issue. Disaster Inc. #1, out this week from Aftershock. From IDW, we have Star Wars: The Clone Wars Battle Tales. I believe this is going to be a 5-issue weekly series. I think it's still weekly. We'll see. I got to double check on that schedule. This is written by Michael Morisi. Michael Morisi, he writes Wasted Space. That's one of my favorite comic books on shelves right now. He writes The Plot with Tim Daniel, one of my favorite comic books on shelves right now. I love me some Michael Morisi, and Michael Morisi loves him some Star Wars. So I'm always excited when he gets to sink his writer's teeth into Star Wars. This feels just like an episode of Star Wars Clone Wars, and that is the highest compliment I can give you, because you made it come across on the comic book page. Star Wars adventures are a little bit more kid-friendly, a little bit more all ages appropriate, but they're still very fun. And like I said, it really captures the feel of the stories, especially the camaraderie between the Jedi generals and the clone troopers. Really great stuff. I had a lot of fun with this. It's not like a game changer or nothing like that, but it's a nice, fun Star Wars tale. If you like the Clone Wars, I would highly encourage you to check this out. Michael Morisi has a passion for Star Wars, and it oozes off the page of anything that he does. Anything. Especially when he does Star Wars. Seriously. Also from Boom, we've got Ghosted. Oh, from Boom, not also. That was from IDW. From Boom, we have Ghosted in LA, issue #10. A great issue. Really starting to ramp up some of the mysterious happenings going on at Rycroft Manor. I am in love with this book, these characters, these ghosts. I love this book so much. It's so much fun. Sina Grace does pretty much all the artwork, I believe, this issue himself. Yes, he does, and he does a masterful job with it. Really great stuff. Great characters and great thematic and relevant stuff that gets put in every single scene and page. It goes in LA. I love this book so much. It's like, I can't wait for every single issue. When I knew that this one was coming on the first day of Diamond resuming distribution, I was so damned excited. Ghost in LA, this is a great shot, since it's kind of a smaller week for some. This is a great moment to get caught up on this book. Check it out. I believe 2 trade paperbacks are out, 1 for sure. This book is great. It's about a young lady who moves across country to go to college. She doesn't really fit in, doesn't have many friends. She's kind of lonely. She goes to this place, Rycroft Manor. It's haunted by ghosts, and she's the only one that can see them, and they don't allow people there, and they kind of befriend her, and you start learning more and more about these ghosts, these individuals, their lives, and it really starts getting really deep and dark here in issue #10, and I loved it. Great stuff. Jim Henson's The Storytellers, Ghosts, issue #2. That's my cover of the week. Look at that. Dylan, look at that cover. Come on. This book was awesome. It was cool. I don't think it was as solid of a story as the first issue, and that's usually what happens with these Storyteller books, is the first issue is the best, and it kind of starts sliding down. But I did like this story about, it's about a disgraced lover she's trying to get revenge. She's trying to like do some kind of magic love spell because her lover no longer is with her. She's with someone else, and it just goes all terribly, terribly bad. I mean, look at the cover. It goes terribly, terribly bad. I really do like the artwork. I think it's a really solid story. Jennifer Rostowski is the creator of this book. Really do like it. I think it's great. A nice, simple, one-and-done ghost story. It's not going to change your life, but it's got some creepy moments in it. It's got some great artwork, but that cover right there alone sells me. The Goon, issue number 10 is here. I haven't been reading The Goon. I haven't been reading The Goon for a very, very long time, but I've been hearing that The Goon, the current series, is mostly just one-and-done stories you can jump in anytime. So I decided, let's try it out. And I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed this story. This story was really cool. So you got these fish dudes, and they're beer brewers, and then you got these witches that come in to the scene, and they make this beer, and they're starting to overtake the sales of the fish brewery, because their beer is just like fish, and cheap, and nasty, and their beer's better. And it sparks this whole, like, war, and of course Goon and his pal are, like, caught right in the middle of it. I really like it. I've always liked Eric Powell's work. I did like The Goon back in the day, but I've only read, like, the first, like, 4 or 5 trades, so I definitely need to get caught up and start reading Goon on a monthly basis because this book is so much fun. You got artwork by Mike Norton. Really big fan of his work. He did Battle Pug. He does Grumble. Now he's doing Goon. Goon number 10 out this week. Rejoice! Comic books are back. From Image Comics, we got a new release. There's also Deadly Class out this week. I'm not caught up on that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is out this week. I'm not caught up on that. Outcast is out this week. I'm not caught up on that. So lots of more stuff. There are a few more titles are out that I'm not talking about. Ludocrats number 1. This is a very weird book. It's Kieran Gillen. So I definitely wanted to give it a shot, but it was very surreal. I don't know what I thought about this book. It didn't quite, first of all, it's humor. It's comedy, right? What is the concept? So it's like this world where ludocracy is celebrated and being ludicrous and being ridiculous and not boring and not plain. So these main characters that we're introduced to, they like host weddings that are wild and weird and wacky, and it's kind of irreverent and crude, and I don't know what I think about this book. Ludocrats is all right. I'm going to have to read it again. I'm going to have to continue reading it, but it's got a tone. It's got a sense of fun to it. That's ridiculous. It's the fine and ludicrous institution of matrimony, also murder. Yeah, they like put on weddings, and then they kill the groom, and there's like crazy snake men and fish people. This book is hard to describe. It really, really is. This book is interesting. It is interesting. I'll tell you that. Was it good? I don't know. Was it bad? I don't know. This book just was ludicrous. 100%. I'll tell you that. This book was wild. But the longer it sits, the more I'm like, I might have to read the next one. Anyway, the artwork's pretty fun. Very frantic style to it. Let me find the right page because, there are dongs in this book. But anyway, but it's pretty interesting. It's kind of got a feel of like a wild Scotty Young kind of thing, but it's definitely more irreverent and crude. I don't know. Ludocrats, number 1. Read it and judge it for yourself. I read Catshit number 1, or Catshit 1 number 1 from Antarctic Press. This was interesting. I was expecting something really weird and silly and wild. This was actually like a really well-done Vietnam War story where the Americans are rabbits and the Vietnamese are cats. Obviously a comparison to Mouse, but it's not quite as deep or nuanced as Mouse at all. But the artwork is solid. The story's okay. It's a pretty solid, decent, average war story. It's pretty well done. It feels accurate, but I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you if it is or not. But the artwork really sells me. I really like the artwork on this. I think it's solid. Really good stuff. Dark Horse has a couple books out. The Kill Whitney or Whitey Donovan. And then there's a third printing of Bang number 1. So if you missed out on Bang number 1, here's your chance to get into it and check out what all the fuss is about. And that's what I read. I also got a couple more digital comics I want to talk about. Lost on Planet Earth number 2 is out. This one's written by Magdalene Visaggio. Really like this one. It's the exact same creative team pretty much of Morning in America. issue number 2 was great. It's kind of like a Star Trek type thing where this woman who has spent her whole life ready to go into Starfleet, into the Academy, all of a sudden decides, no, I don't want to do that. And she completely revolts and turns and tries to discover who she is through other means. And it's a very well done story with great artwork. Aguirre, I think it's Claudia Aguirre, Zach Sam on the lettering. Really did like that one. And Youth number 2 is out this week. Youth number 2 from Kurt Pyers, from Alex Diotto, from D. Cunniffe and Micah Myers, right there. Issue number 1 was my pick of the week last week. Issue number 2 was amazing. Really, really liked that one. It's about these kids, and they run away from home, and they're just out there doing drugs, just doing what kids do. And then all of a sudden, this giant meteor hits their van and gives them superpowers. So that was kind of issue number 1. In issue number 2, they start exploring these powers, start exploring kind of maybe the cosmic nature of these powers and of the story. I really like it. This is the exact same creative team from Olympia, which still has 1 issue to come, and it should be coming soon. So if you like that book, I would highly encourage you to check this one out. It's got some teenage drama in it, but it's not overbearing. It's not too much, kind of like that Gotham High one was for me. But Youth is really, really cool. Both that and Lost on Planet Earth are Comixology originals, and so if you subscribe to Comixology, which I do, you get to read them for free. Otherwise, they're still pretty cheap. They're great books. They're digital only, but Comixology originals, they really go after some really great talent. And D. Cunniffe, in issue number 2 of Youth, homie. That's the best coloring work I've ever seen from that cat. I'm not even kidding. And finally, a big shout out to Bullseye Bob, who sent me this in the mail. I got it today for my birthday. Bob, thank you so much. In return, everybody that doesn't, go subscribe to Everything Comics. Everything Comics is a great channel. I love his having coffee with my comics. And thank you, homie. This was the book we talked about. This is one of his favorite Doom stories that I've never read. My shop didn't have it. So, homie, thank you for hooking a brother up. I love you, my man. Hope everything's going well with you and the rest of the Portland Comics crew. So anyway, thank you all so much for checking out the video. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited that New Comic Book Day is back, that Diamond is back? And don't worry, next week we'll celebrate again because Marvel is back next week. It feels good. Anyway, it's been 2 months, pretty much. It's been crazy 2 months. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading, y'all.